Arc has a lot of creatures that either haven't been updated since their addition, or were balanced when released, but have since been outdone by other creatures. These are teams I think need rebalancing. The Mosasaur was the single strongest water creature in existence, but in Arc, that's not true. The two main choices are between the Tuso and Basilo, due to the speed and strength they provide. In order to bring the Mosasaur back into relevance and have it actually be considered, changing the turning radius to be smaller would allow for better manoeuvrability. I also think that similar to the Dino Sutras, the Mosa should be given a Gigabyte. This would give it a significant damage advantage compared to its counterparts, as currently the damage simply isn't enough to make a Mosa worth it. The Astrocetus is a conceptually cool creature, but as it currently is, it isn't useful for anyone. It has turrets that are currently too weak to justify having multiple players use them, and the bombs aren't good enough for anything. The Astro has the ability to warp, but it is only short distances, takes too long to charge up, and is too slow to move normally, so not much happens anyways. To rebalance the Astro, increasing its base flight speed a little would allow for players to better position themselves in PvP. I also think that the warping distance should be significantly expanded, as to allow the Astro to actually move in and out of combat. Giving the Astro teleport feature, where it can choose a place on the map to teleport to, with a charge of 30 seconds and a long enough cooldown to make it impossible to teleport in and out of combat, would allow for the Astro to be an incredible tame that most players would want to use. If you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing, it really helps. On official servers, the Shadowmane became an incredibly important tame to every player, being used even in Giga fights. The Shadowmane has too many strengths, being a fast swimmer, having a UT-like buff, a debuff from its bite, being incredibly fast on land, and having a massive jump. To make the Shadowmane more balanced, it should receive a basic stat reduction, and personally I think either removing its teleporting stun or removing the debuff from its bite would be enough to make them still strong, but not enough so that they are required. On a side note, I hate the taming for it, please make it less annoying. The Enforcer is very similar in size and shape to the Shadowmane and Pyromane, however the Enforcer isn't overly good for anything, and even its buff against corruption is almost useless. Whilst I don't think making it as strong as the Shadowmane was is a good idea, making it actually viable could make it an interesting competitor. I think giving the Enforcer the ability to charge up its damage, similar to the Kaka but not as significant a damage change, as well as giving it a significant stat buff, could make the Enforcer worth the cost. Whilst the Rex is a commonly used creature for boss fights, in any other situation there is another creature that is better. With the introduction of the Acrocanthosaurus soon, the Rex will be outdone even more. I would like to see something similar to the Paleo Rex, where it has increased speed as well as more attacks. It has a stomp attack that allows for it to defend itself from any direction, and a head bash that allows the Rex to fight any creature not in range of its bite. The current Rex model looks too out of date, so updating it similar to the Paleo mod version would be a welcome addition. I wouldn't want the taming to be added, we are getting too many complicated taming methods. I think we need to keep some simple knockout tames. Similar to the Giga, the Rex is arguably the most popular tame in Arc, and therefore should get some TLC to take advantage of the Unreal Engine 5 graphics. As strong as the Giga is, it is a clear display of Wildcard's earlier work, with its outdated model and lack of abilities. The current Giga doesn't look as imposing as something with its power should, and again the Paleo mod outshines the vanilla creature by a mile. In real life, the Giga is slimmer than a Rex, and the Paleo version represents this very well. The Paleo Giga has an improved roll, as well as an overhaul of all the animations. The Paleo Giga has a crouch walk stance to allow it to fit in the tech cave. I can understand why this wouldn't be added, but seeing as the Kaka can fit easily, why not allow the Giga the same? There are a lot of wicked creatures that could use a TLC buff, but seeing as the Giga is one of the most used dinosaurs, making it look a lot better would affect many of the players. As it stands, the Chalico is an underused tame, not having too many perks, as well as requiring beer to tame. I think that giving the Chalico a buff when under the influence of beer, similar to the Megatherium's buff when killing bugs, and having the buff be significant enough to allow it to stand against creatures like the Rex or Spino, would bring the Chalico back into relevance, rather than being one of those creatures you skip over. The Quetzal was once the best flyer, having a high base weight and being able to level speed so farming was made easier. After the flyer nerf, it fell apart. It is too slow for most players, and the Argentavis just does it better. I think a buff is in order. Allow for the Quetzal to carry more weight, or allow for it to have reduced weight for certain resources. Another way to buff the Quetzal is for allowing it to retain speed whilst under load. A lot of flyers quickly become very slow after gaining weight, so having the Quetzal not have a massive amount of speed reduction whilst heavy could make it worthwhile for players. There are a lot more creatures that could be brought into relevance quite simply, and if you don't agree with my list, let me know why. If you want to see more videos like this one, consider subscribing.